Eagle Communications is a leader in advertising. We can put your business in front of thousands of customers during the most watched shows, including local and national sports. Let our employee owners target customers with affordable advertising on over 40 popular TV networks and online with Facebook, Google, and YouTube. From crafting your message to video production, let our team help your business grow. Call today, 785-628-0467. Eagle Communications, our community connected.
I'm DJ Dan. I'm the Corporate Production Director for the Radio Division for Eagle Communications. I'm also the Operations Manager for the Manhattan property. I take care of the day-to-day operations in the Manhattan property. I also take care of all my production, take care of any scheduling, and any promotion or events. There's two things I really enjoy about my job. One is hearing our clients have success stories. The other is when I have a listener go absolutely ballistic because I've made their day. When I hear them and the excitement in their voice, that really keeps me coming back every day.
Eagle Community Television presents Community Connection with your host, Mike Cooper.
Hello and welcome again to Community Connection from the studios of Eagle Community Television. Our Community Connection thanks to our producer and editor, Brandon Cooley. Professor of Geosciences in Petroleum Geology, an associate professor at Fort Hays State University, Dr. Hendratta Ali is our community connection. Dr. Ali was awarded the Dr Heinrichs Outstanding Research Mentor Award at the recent spring convocation. The award recognizes a faculty member for commitment, time, and energy devoted to fostering research by undergraduate students. We wanted to find out more about the process of mentoring, which thanks to the dictionary carried around on his person by our producer and editor, Brandon Cooley, we find out that a mentor is someone who is an experienced and trusted advisor. Well, Dr. Ali, what's involved in that work in research mentoring? What do you do?
So as a research mentor, what I do is try to encourage students to participate in their professional development outside of the classroom. So I engage them in research, but also other professional development activities. I help them to act professional, network with professionals, begin to build a community of people that might eventually help them either as employers, as advisors, or in other capacities. It's really a broad spectrum. Research is just an aspect of it. There is more, it's building the person.
Would you determine then, Dr. Ali, that mentoring, that research also involves networking? Is that a part of research in your estimation?
Research leads to networking. Because when you do the work, you have to show people, you have to present it to people. And in the process of talking to people about what you did, how you did it, and what you hope to find or what you found, it helps you to engage with people who would otherwise not engage with you. It also helps the students to go to events that they might otherwise not go to, professional meetings, conferences, and see how other professionals behave and relate or interact with each other.
Well, now you work in the classroom as an instructor as well as a mentor. What's the difference there?
So as an instructor, you have the charge to go and provide information and explanation and try to help people to see a big picture. In research, you try to get a little bit more into detail and or into practical aspects. You know, you have to remember that in the classroom, we have 50 minutes, 90 minutes to present sometimes really complex ideas and information. So research, undergraduate research, graduate research gives the students a lot more time to be able to apply, test, investigate some of the things that weren't clear for them. In that process, they learn more. Unfortunately, it's not usually a I would say, a comprehensive part of the academic world because it requires so much time. I mostly work with my students at night, on weekends. So sometimes it's time after official time, if you think about it. So it's really something that you have to want to do it. And the person with whom you're working, the student, has to be motivated because they do that in addition to everything else that they have to do.
And in the classroom, you're working with a large group. Mentoring, I assume, would be more of a one-on-one situation, correct?
Yes, mentoring tends to be a smaller group, but I have had situations where I've had 12 students that I mentor at about the same time. So it's how you organize the mentoring process so that everybody benefits. I said earlier that mentoring is building relationships as well. So getting the students together in a group, sharing ideas. Sometimes we talk about things that are not research, things that are not classroom work, but it helps you to understand where the person comes from, why they're acting in a certain way, why they feel frustrated about something. So it gives you an insight into the person. It's really a very close relationship that you get with the people that you're working with, even though there's rigor, because there's a product to be produced and there's a timeline for it. So you work usually in my mentoring group, we have group meetings, but I have time for each student because everybody is going to have some unique problems. Something that somebody catches fast, somebody might struggle with. So that would require that one-on-one.
Mentoring really involves the whole student, doesn't it?
It does.
Much more than academics itself.
Mentoring, again, it involves the whole student. Sometimes it extends beyond the student. For example, during Thanksgiving break, if a student has a project that is due immediately after and they need to stay and work on it, which means they might miss Thanksgiving with family, or maybe the mentor. That involves talking with the parents, the family, and helping them understand why it is important that this student does what they are doing. So sometimes it kind of spreads. It really grows. It's an organic process that develops for each individual and for each group. The dynamics are really changing all the time.
Sounds to me like maybe the mentor has missed a Thanksgiving or two with family, huh?
Not the Thanksgiving turkey carving situation, but sometimes you're in a situation and you're thinking, we have this is due, and once I get out of here, so there's some distraction that comes in sometimes, but you have to be able to make time for the things that matter. That was an extreme case, just to illustrate that sometimes family comes in. Sometimes I've had to take students to Las Vegas, and I had parents come and visit with me because they were worried my child is going this far. Who are they going with? What kind of situations are in place to ensure that they are safe? It's Las Vegas after all. So, and you have to reassure the parent as well as the students. Maybe their first time going out of state, you don't know. So it's really something that can involve a vast number of people.
And you have to be the go-between.
You have to be the go-between.
How do students benefit, Dr. Ali, from mentoring? What do you see as advantages, as gains for the student in mentoring?
There are several benefits to mentoring, but one of the benefits that I have seen that I think means more to me is the personal growth. You know, sometimes students come to school and they take coursework in an automated way. I have to take this class and move on to the next one and move on to the next one. Once they start engaging in research, some activity where there is no grade, There is no timeline. So that schedule is designed by them. How much work is on them. They appreciate self-growth happens. You see the enthusiasm, the spark. If a student chooses to stay on campus till 3 a.m. because they need to finish a project that they don't have to, it says something about how far they've come, when it's sometimes hard to just sit still in class for 50 minutes. So I think that to me is one of the most important growth, because I think it's something happening within the person, and it translates to when they go to meetings, how they interact with other people, with their peers, and eventually that leads to better professionals because they become confident, they can talk about what they do, they can look at people and say, yes, I know this, I have tried it, maybe it failed, but I understand why it failed. It succeeded, here is where I can take it further. So those are the things that really, don't get me wrong, there are frustrations that come along with mentoring, but once you've accomplished that task, they've presented to a group of people they didn't know and they came out smiling, it really does make you feel like you've achieved the ultimate goal of education.
I would think, as an educator, that has to be one of your biggest joys, of seeing this growth of the student, not only in academics, but in person, if you will.
Yes.
And the changes, the improvements to the finished product, I guess.
It's difficult to express it in words because as professors, instructors, we meet so many students through our careers. And those that we mentor, most of the time they become friends, they become colleagues, they become friends. I have to tell you, most of them, even after they leave, I have several of my students, former students who graduated and have left, but they're still in touch. I get a random call to say, yes, I found a job. I get a random call to say, you know, I want to come and give a presentation. Something that maybe before it was a scary just to mention, to say present something, and they weren't sure about it. Now they want to tell other students how important or how useful, how beneficial it has been for them. I think for any instructor, the product of your effort comes across several years after you've done it. I don't think it's a process where you get instant gratification, because it's after a student has left, gone into the real world, and seen the benefits of what you were trying to do, that they can sit back and say, you know, that was useful.
And I've talked to many educators who feel that feedback later on, as you say, because that's usually when it seems to occur, is really something that kind of tells them that, yeah, I'm doing this right.
Yes. For most of us, I think that's what keeps us going. Because in the moment, during that classroom environment, when you're putting those guidelines and making those plans, it may seem overwhelming. And for a student who is trying to understand and figure out their way, sometimes it can be very frustrating. The mistake, though, is to give up and let it pass, because you should know better, and so it is incumbent upon you to figure out how to keep them, make them persist, so that they can ultimately benefit from the product of their efforts.
What grade of students do you work with? Juniors, sophomores, seniors, graduates? What's the area that your mentoring takes place?
I've mentored the spectrum. So I have graduates, undergraduates, seniors, juniors, and sometimes freshmen. The projects vary, and you start small with those who just come in. Sometimes, depending on individual abilities or enthusiasm, some come in and they're so motivated and they're ready to roll. For some, it takes a little bit of time to build that confidence. Sometimes they self-select. They come to me and they insist and they insist, and I'm like, I think I have enough students to work with right now, and they persist. And even that, sometimes say, this student has been wanting to do this for so long, even though it doesn't seem to make sense. Maybe I give them this opportunity. So it's graduate students have to do this as part of their academic program. They have to do research and practical applications, but for the undergraduate students, it's something that enhances. And those who do it usually want to go to graduate school. They enjoy it enough, and now they think beyond just getting their bachelor's degree, go to graduate school, or maybe get your doctorate, who knows. So it's the whole spectrum.
Okay, Dr. Ali, who were your mentors?
Oh boy.
Who were the people who stood out for you that helped Hendratta get where she is?
I can think of several people. Before I came to Fort Hays State, I was at Oklahoma State, and at Oklahoma State I had my academic advisor, my PhD advisor was a very good mentor. He is still a mentor.
Is he still at OU or at OSU?
No, he's not. He's not still at OSU. He just moved from OSU this year, actually. But he really influenced a lot of what I do today as well, because I started mentoring undergraduate students when I was a graduate student in his lab. The first students that I mentored, two young ladies, it was very challenging. I was just trying, but they went to win first and second prize at the research event on campus. And you have to know that Oklahoma State has thousands of students. And I was like, oh my God, this thing works. So but it was a very gradual, getting me to have that confidence in being able to help and support other people in their work. So I think that was a very meaningful mentoring experience that I had from my advisor.
Well, especially when you've got your first and second place students as winners of those projects,
I know.
That's got to be good feedback for you, too.
It was an eye-opener, because it said that all the hurdles, all the frustrations, thinking this is not going to work, all those challenges that you feel are building up to something. And that's what you shouldn't lose sight of. They're building up to something, and eventually it comes together. But then there were other professors there as well who were not directly my professors. The entire department was really a group of fantastic people, and I'm thinking of so many names. I'm like, where do I start? But I've also had good mentors at professional organizations that I'm a member of, where I just meet people and they encourage, advise, provide feedback. They're willing to look at some of the things that you do, and based on their own experience, communicate and share their knowledge with you. But definitely when I came to Fort Hays State University, Dr. Heinrichs had a very big influence.
Was parental support important in your early days, Dr. Ali?
Yes. So I grew up in Cameroon. So it's far away from here. But culturally, it's very tight-knit. So I interacted a lot with my parents, my uncles, my aunts, my cousins. So it was like it still is a very giant big family, where this the line between your direct sibling and a cousin is blurred because you're all in the same environment.
It's kind of like a community support, isn't it?
Yes. So there was a lot of support from relatives. Most of the time I was a student, my dad was ill. So I had a lot of support from other relatives to school, moral support. So it has kind of informed the kind of person I am, where I tend to look at relationships in a much more broader sense.
What attracted you to petroleum geology?
Petroleum geology, I have to say my first interaction and the first experience I had with petroleum geology was when I was in Cameroon and I worked for a pipeline project. There was the construction of a huge pipeline that was more than 600 miles long. And I worked for that project for some time. Then when I came here when I came to the United States to do my doctorate, and I was at Oklahoma State, I don't have to know, Oklahoma State is a big, well, we have a lot of petroleum interest, and I was fascinated by the software, I have to say. So my doctorate is in aqueous geochemistry. So by training, I'm a water person. But water and oil, the difference is just viscosity. That's how I look at it. I was fascinated by the software, so I spent a lot of time learning some of the software that industry uses. And because my home country is so far, in the summers I couldn't travel home, so I spent most of my summers on campus, and I would do projects and take courses to enhance my general understanding. So I took a bunch of classes and learned all the software. I had a friend of mine, she's still a very good friend of mine actually, Mindy Parcell, who is a graduate from Fort Hays State University. And that is how I came to be at Fort Hays State, really.
She was one of the attractions that led you to Fort Hays State then?
She was basically the person who told me about the school, told me about the opportunities that were there, because I didn't really know much about Fort Hays, but she talked about it all the time. So she encouraged me to apply for a position that was open there. I have to say, initially I was reticent, but then again, I'm graduating, so so it's one of those peer mentoring now, where it is not an experienced person, but it's somebody who understands and who has your best interest at heart.
In your 7 years now at Fort Hays, Dr. Ali, how did you interact with Dr. Heinrichs, because he was still alive while you were here? What are your impressions? How was the interaction, the mentoring, if you will? You alluded to that a little bit earlier, Dr. Heinrichs. Talk about that some.
So when I got hired here at Fort Hays, it was to establish a petroleum geology program. So it was a new program that needed to be established and expanded. So I had to build the foundation, if you will. I had to build on what had been created. And Dr. Heinrichs was very forthcoming in making suggestions, in kind of guiding me. I needed to understand some of the local industry communities. So there was the Kansas Geological Society does technical presentations in Wichita every so often. And we talked about it, and they would welcome students who had projects to present. We talked about it, and one of the discussions we had was they had sent an email to say, we would love to have somebody from Fort Hays come and give some talks. When I visited with John, we talked about, how about taking students? And I said, well, if we're going to take students, why not just take students to go present? And that's how it started very early on. Every spring, I would have a class of students work on small research projects. Then we would drive out to Wichita one day. They would do their presentation. It helped to get interactions with the community and the industry. And he encouraged me to join the Scholarship Environment Committee on campus, which was all about research and scholarship, and other community. We were members of the Wellhead Protection Committee, which was a county, city council associated committee. So we went to some high schools. So he tried to engage me in all of these things. Looking back, because I was new to the environment and to the community, I think that was a way of getting my feet into the community, mm-hmm. So I don't feel isolated, but also getting my person out there. Mm-hmm. And now that I think about it, I think it was a very powerful way of mentoring, because it made me feel like I can do this. Mm-hmm. So constantly I didn't feel like this is too hard or this is too difficult. Or no, it was the feeling of, if somebody thinks you can, they're probably seeing something in me that maybe I'm not seeing myself. And I think that is how John interacted with students and most people. He had a lot of enthusiasm. It was really contagious. And he had faith in abilities. He believed that everybody had a talent and a skill, and it just needed a little bit of nudging to bring it out to the surface. So he had a very big influence in my life.
And I'm seeing you transferring that influence, that mentoring ability, with enthusiasm to your students too.
I find it hard that somebody can match John's enthusiasm. I mean, the person was really very...
But he saw something in you, Dr. Ali, that I think you're probably going to transfer to your students in the coming years of mentoring. Associate Professor of Geosciences in Petroleum Geology at Fort Hays State University, Dr. Hendratta Ali, our community connection.
Eagle Communications has partnered with local businesses to allow you to stay connected by watching our high-definition TV channels or surfing the web on our high-speed internet, all free of charge. Some of our partners include The Brass Rail, On the Rocks, Taco Grande, Main Street Gym and Fitness, Sip and Spin, Golden Q, Hayes Chevrolet, and Ace Street Laundry. Stop by and visit one of these hotspot locations today. It's all with your community partner, Eagle Communications, our community connected.
Don't miss the Green and Growing Show in the noon to 9 p.m. hours on Eagle TV. Ellis County Horticulture Agent Holly Dickman will identify common lawn and garden issues while providing up-to-date information. Watch weekdays in the noon to 9 p.m. hours on Channel 14 or 614. Green and Growing, brought to you by Riedel's Garden Center, a full-service garden center west of Hays on Highway 40, and Eagle TV.